Good morning and welcome to Newsmakers. Over the last decade, power has steadily shifted from Cincinnati City Council to the Hamilton County Commission. As residents and businesses continue to move out of the center city, endless dry discussions about zoning have been transformed into critical urban planning and economic development decisions. And key public services, including the politically charged welfare system and its reform, are county, not city responsibilities. The full significance of this shift became clear when the county assumed responsibility for what will end up being at least $1 billion development of 2 new stadiums for the Bengals and Reds and potentially the region's signature block of land on the riverfront. Although the responsibilities of the commission have changed, little else has changed. County government structure has not changed significantly since Ohio wrote its last constitution in 1853, and not really since 1803. Politically, the commission remains a Republican stronghold. No Democrat has been elected to the commission since 1963. This year, 1 commission seat is in play, and neither candidate has ever been elected to public office. The incumbent, Tom Neyer, was appointed in February 1997 when Guy Guckenberger moved to the municipal court bench. Neyer's lack of voter recognition, combined with his controversial role in negotiating for the location of the Red Stadium, made many think that this is the year for Democrats to end their drought. But when Roxanne Qualls decided to run for Congress and Jim Tarbell opted to wait his turn for city council, the Democrats turned to Marilyn Hyland, another electoral unknown. This morning, all of Newsmakers will be devoted to this race. I always prefer that the candidates appear together, but Commissioner Neyer turned that down. So for the first part of Newsmakers, I am joined by the Democratic candidate, Marilyn Hyland. Marilyn, welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you. Good morning.
We know that Broadway Commons versus the wedge has been a major issue in your campaign. It's a major issue in its own right. Therefore, I'm not going to focus on that. But on the question of how it's been handled, not whether it's the right place or wrong, which is the right place, which is the wrong place, but how it's been handled, how the process has been handled by the county commission. What's your observation about that? What's your feeling about that?
Well, I feel it's symbolic of how the county commissioners have handled the whole stadium issue, and that is that they've continuously taken our money and told us to get lost as citizens. With the Bengal Stadium deal, they spent money to the tune of $400 million, and when people, citizens tried to tell the county commissioners that we want baseball at Broadway, they said, my opponent said he would have a full and open discussion about it, and then turned right around and listened to a privileged few who had gotten him appointed.
Who are the privileged few that you think are really behind that decision in getting Tom Neyer appointed?
Well, the same actors that have tried to convince us that everything is right for the riverfront. I think that when you're an elected official, you need to look out for the best return on investment of the public money for the most amount of people, and that's why Broadway Commons is such an outstanding example of that.
You know, in one of your positions papers, I noted that you referred to the wedge site, or any riverfront site really, as on the fringe of the downtown. Are you serious about that, that you think the riverfront is not a critical part of the downtown?
Well, I think the riverfront is a critical part of the downtown, but it's one edge of the downtown. It's
and so is Broadway Commons.
And the Broadway Commons is the other edge. And so when you, for example, the other side has tried to tell us that they want to have 2 anchors, but when you do a mall development, or if you're doing a party at your house, you know, you don't put all the food in one place. You put 1 anchor here and 1 anchor here, and then you create a trail of incentives to go from one place to the other.
Yeah, I really don't want to talk about the sites because that's been talked to death. What would you do concretely to change how people have a voice in what goes on in the Hamilton County Commission?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is put my hand up with John Dallin and vote for Broadway Commons, because that's what people want. And at the Blue Ash Parade, for example, on Memorial Day, Tom Neyer chided the citizens for calling out to him about Broadway Commons as being unpatriotic. He said in one article, "Get a grip." Well, I think when people call out to you as a servant of the people, you need to listen. That's patriotic, and that's a huge attempt at trying to get to communicate with you and get you to listen.
Let me give you a hypothetical. What happens if the charter amendment proposal or the Broadway Commons proposal goes down? I know that's not what you support, but let's say it goes down, people support a riverfront development, but you get elected. What will you do? Will you and John Dallin then team up and still put it at Broadway Commons?
Well, I think the Broadway Commons initiative is complicated in that there are a lot of people in the townships who have serious reservations.
I know that, but hypothetical.
But
if it goes down and people vote for a riverfront site, but you're elected, will you switch the decision by siding with John Dallin?
I've made a campaign pledge to put my hand up with John Dallin and vote for Broadway Commons.
Okay. So you would, in effect, change the people's vote on that one.
I think it's a complicated issue because the Move Cincinnati Forward, or Move Move Kentucky Forward, as I call it, people would have you to believe that the township issue, would change the form of county government. So I leave that to people I mean, that's an equally significant question there.
What else might you do in a general way besides Broadway Commons? What else might you do to open up county commission?
Well, I intend to not only have a commissioners' night in, as Mayor Qualls has done so successfully, but I will make what we were calling house calls, and I've already begun that. The kids in Coleraine Township were going to have their ball fields closed down by the county commissioners as of July 30th. They called me in June on a Wednesday. The commissioners were going to meet on a Friday. I went and met with them on Thursday and saw that commissioners were going to shut down the ball fields for 4,000 children, where the kids sell, snacks and
right.
sodas for equipment, and the coaches grade the mounds. I went and met with them on Thursday and actually saw all of this in operation, and they asked me to lead the charge at the county commission meeting on the Friday. And so by the next county commission meeting, the commissioners had decided that they would give the kids a 3-year, $1 lease. The same things happened in Green Township a week and a half ago.
So really getting out there in the communities.
I intend to understand people's issues with my feet as well as my head.
On Thursday this past week, you raised an issue, and I want to sort of clarify that, and we have a little bit of tape that goes along with that. Yesterday, Marilyn Hyland's campaign announced that it's suing Metro. Marilyn argues that the Metro policy about signs on buses is unfair. The group of citizens for Hyland announced yesterday that it filed a lawsuit. Hyland wanted to buy ad space on several buses. The sign shows Hyland in a baseball uniform, saying that she would go to bat for the county. It also lists her positions on several issues.
That advertising on the sides of Metro buses would be an effective vehicle for communication all across the county. When you're going to vote for someone, you need to know what they stand for and why they would represent you in the best way possible.
Marilyn, this issue, this is a very effective way to reach a lot of people. In effect, these are traveling yard signs.
That's
is
exactly
that why
right.
you want them on?
Right.
Now, on the other side, everybody who's ever been involved in a political campaign knows the rules on Metro buses and what can be done and what can not be done. Hyland for a commissioner or something to vote Hyland for commissioner. I mean, we've all bought signs for various campaigns that we've worked for. Why are you bringing up at this time? Why are you challenging this rule right now? I mean, I got to ask, is this a campaign trick to get free TV?
No, frankly, we were shocked that listing Broadway Commons, local jobs for local dollars,
had you
and
seen the
e-check.
rules? Had you seen the rules that existed beforehand, before you drew up the ad?
We actually worked them out in conjunction with the artist for the Metro.
For Metro?
Right. So we were really surprised and shocked, because it seems to me that if we're ever going to end this anoint routine that, a small group of people appoint a commissioner, then they get elected, you have to communicate your position with the voters. That's what democracy is all about. So the fact that taking a position on significant issues involved in this race in a very positive way would be considered controversial totally surprised us.
Okay. And this is going to be litigated in court, and we should be looking in the next few days for some sort of decision on
yeah,
this, right?
we're looking for temporary restraining order because we want to get on those buses.
One of the things that you've been, in your background, been interested in is development of areas, of economic development of geographic areas. What's your stance, what's your view about development in western Hamilton County, and particularly MSD issues, and these sorts of infrastructure development in the rest of the county in the future?
Well, I support the 82% of the residents who have chosen the low growth model in western Hamilton County. I think that we create development by design or by default. And I look at planning as a collective community vision. And I've worked with the citizens of for example, Whitewater Township when they wanted no zoning because they felt the kind of zoning that was coming in would intrude on the kind of way of life that they have. I've worked with so I think they need to create zoning that affirms and supports what they want. I've worked with Clifton with regard to the Esquire Theater on the highly sophisticated environmental quality district overlay zoning because it affirmed and supported that wonderful human-scaled village atmosphere that we all now know still and celebrate as Clifton.
What about the question of leadership? I mean, western Hamilton County is a huge opportunity very close to that airport, which is the economic driver for the region. Okay, 82% want low growth. Would you see yourself possibly taking a leadership position though and saying, gee, maybe we ought to think other options?
Well, I think that leadership is listening to what citizens want. And across this county, people have chosen different economies of scale, different kinds of environments to live in, whether you live in Northside or Bond Hill or Whitewater Township or Sycamore Township. You've chosen, or Montgomery, or you choose an economy of scale for yourself and your family, and you want certain development objectives and you want certain quality of life issues. And the county commissioners need to take the lead in listening to those and affirming those and going to bat for those.
Okay. We're almost out of time, about 30 seconds. One of your proposals is to eliminate the e-check. Popular with lots of people, but on Thursday the EPA just imposed new standards that we have to meet. Is that a realistic proposal given what EPA did on Thursday?
I think the e-check is a facade of a solution. I think we need to have truly systemic solutions to this pollution, and another part of my plank is to build commuter rail, the light rail, commuter rail. I think we need to have solutions that effectively address both the economic development and the environment, the quality of life, and our ability to have fun in Hamilton County.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll be following the campaign from here till November 3rd.
Thanks a lot.
Stay tuned. After the break, I'll be joined by Tom Neyer, the Republican candidate for County Commission. Welcome back. I am joined now by Tom Neyer. Tom was appointed to the County Commission in February 1997 to replace Guy Guggenberger, who moved to the municipal court bench. Currently, Tom is president of the County Commission. Tom, welcome back to Newsmakers.
Glad to be here, Dan. Thank you.
In all of this discussion about Broadway Commons versus the riverfront, baseball on Main, the official, not going to talk about the details of that and where the stadium ought to go. But one of the issues that has emerged, that a lot of people are talking about, there's this proposal out there for voters this November. It's sometimes referred to as a county charter proposal, sometimes the Broadway Commons proposal. Mm-hmm. Let's do a hypothetical.
Okay.
What if that passes and you're elected? What will you do at that point? Will you switch your vote and support Broadway Commons? Or will you and Bob Bettinghouse stick together and then renovate Synergy Field, which is allowed in that proposal?
Renovation of Synergy Field would be allowed in that proposal. I don't happen to think that that's a notion that makes the best sense for this community's front door. Synergy Field was the right solution 30 years ago, but it's clearly cited inaccurately and inappropriately for today's development issues. If that passes, which I don't think it will, but if it does pass, then all bets are off. We won't do anything without a lease that's been executed by the team. And the Reds have said that Broadway Commons doesn't fit our requirements for a number of reasons. Broadway Commons is a site that had some attributes. I believe there's a much greater series of attributes associated with the riverfront site.
What about this? If that's sort of all bets are off,
right,
but you do need the Reds' cooperation. Given all of the discussion that's going on right now that Marge Schott is going to be forced to sell or will sell voluntarily, whatever.
What time is it?
Yeah.
That news just changed, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. What's the possibility of just calling all this off and saying, we're not going to decide this until there's a new Reds ownership?
The worst thing that can face a community is indecision, and that's why I regret the fact that this baseball discussion is continuing. It is, and that's fine. We'll have the discussion, and we'll see where things lie on November 4th. But if that ballot issue passes, and if the Reds are thrown into a period of indecisiveness because of ownership questions, this whole community is on hold, and we can't afford to be on hold. We have a lot of important decisions that we need to make as a community, and everything that is associated with riverfront development, Broadway Commons development, CBD development is sort of in limbo until we get this very important decision made and finalized.
You saying that we can't wait for the Reds? We have to move forward and make a decision. And you said synergy is no longer the right choice. It sounds to me like you're saying we're going to have to decide to go to Broadway if this passes.
Well,
if the voters say that.
What I said is that all bets are off, and I don't know what the Reds are going to decide. What scares me the most is that this thing passes, and the Reds ownership, whoever it may be at that time, says, look, we're just going to stay in Synergy Field as it is until our current lease expires in 10 years, and we'll deal with it then. Maybe we'll move out of town, but irrespective of the Reds, the greatest problem is that every development decision associated with the parks and every transportation is on hold.
Right. One of the charges that Marilyn Hyland makes against you is that you have a conflict of interest here, that you, as a developer, and you have a conflict, plus that you're tied to people who are really making the decisions. The same people who put you in office are telling you what to do on the stadium site. I could not get her to tell me who those names of those people were, but she says we all know. As you look at that process over the last 18 months, did you get pressure, and did you make this decision because the people you're counting on to fund this campaign, for example, told you where to put it?
If my opponent wants to use our precious little time in front of the cameras to talk about me, that's fine. I'm going to talk about the county. I happen to think that this is a time where it's very appropriate to have a builder and a developer on the county commission. I've used my business experience time and time and time again to make a lot of the decisions and weigh the series of decisions and get to the best combination for this community. So I think it makes sense. And no, I mean, there's this great conspiracy theory that everyone assured Neyer of where his decision was going to be before he was appointed to the commission. I just didn't get any pressure at all. Mike Allen didn't ask me. No members of the finance committee asked me. I'm on the finance committee. No one pressured me. They just said go in there, analyze it, make the best decision, and get the darn thing done.
Another question. You've now been on county commission for 18 months,
right,
or approximately, whatever
right,
it is. What are your observations about the effectiveness of county commission, and would there be one thing that you would like to change to make it more effective at this point?
Certainly there's room for improvement in just about any government or organizational structure. I think the county government works a lot better now than it did 10 years ago. The county government, the Republican Party went through sort of a painful period, but we've righted the ship, and I think by and large county government works pretty well right now. If I could fix one thing or change one thing, I would use the bully pulpit of the county commissioners to more effectively work with the other regional leaders, and that's something that Bob and John and I have already started to do. I think you'll see that ratcheted up a lot more over the next 4 years. County government does make decisions pretty well, and we make decisions and we move forward with it. That doesn't always please everyone, but it's better than the opposite, which is stagnation.
Let's raise another question about county commission. How responsive is it to ordinary people? There's only 3 of you.
Mm-hmm.
Almost forever in the 20th century, you've all been Republicans.
Right.
Back in the 60s we had Vince Beckman, but
right,
it's not very representative in those terms. How well are you able to really communicate with a broad base of people in this county?
I think particularly over the past couple of years, you've seen the role of the county commissioners in terms of community leadership and community visibility escalate considerably. I think that will continue. We have very open meetings with very active dialogue, and there are those who are advocates of one issue or one particular site who said this has been a very closed process, and county government operates in a very closed, reclusive manner. It is a very open process, and democracy requires that, and we are very open, and we spend a lot of time working with people. I rather enjoy it. I've enjoyed the past year of campaigning because you really get to go out and hear from people. You don't always hear what you want to hear, but boy, do you hear.
One of the issues out there right now is the whole question of the future of Western Hamilton County.
Mm-hmm.
We know about the process. We've done a Newsmakers on that. Where do you stand? What do you think ought to happen in Western Hamilton County in terms of development?
Based on what I've seen prepared by the Planning Commission and through the whole process that you just mentioned, I think the best solution is sort of a hybrid of options. I believe they're 3 and 4, which is there's one that says moderate investment for moderate development, and there's one that says moderate investment for light development. I don't think anybody wants to see the entire western part of Hamilton County paved. I think there are some natural contours that allow for good green space that needs to be incorporated into this plan.
Do you support a bridge?
I support a bridge in the context of a well-developed plan. People keep saying that the bridge is what matters, and a bridge doesn't matter if you don't have all the tentacles that support that bridge. It's like light rail without a well-integrated bus system.
What about extension of the sewer system?
Absolutely.
Sewering Western Hamilton County.
I believe that no matter what happens in Western Hamilton County, that obviously is going to need water and sewer. Okay. And I believe that the commissioners, frankly, before I was there, started an initiative. I've been glad to support and continue that initiative.
You know, one of the things that county takes responsibility for is human services, a lot of the human services. We've gone through a period of welfare reform. You've been very involved in that. You know, we're now going to start running up on the time when people will have to go off of welfare because there are time limits for that. Our nation may be also facing the front edge of a recession. At some point, we're going to face economic difficulty.
At some point, there's going to be a dip, yeah.
Well, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think we're really facing in this county in terms of where we are with welfare reform?
Hamilton County is the leading county in the state of Ohio, and actually the state of Ohio is one of the leading states in the country as far as the implementation of welfare reform. And we are leading because we've proactively worked with people who are clients of the welfare system to manage that deadline that you mentioned, and that's coming up. So by and large, people are prepared. Now there is a group of people that is currently about 6,000 or so that's in a uniquely hard to serve category, and those are the ones where we'll have to make some very difficult decisions. Now that deadline that you mentioned does have some exemptions for people who are in a uniquely hard to serve category. I think that as long as the economy holds on to some general degree of strength, and I don't think we're going to hit a recession, I think we'll hit a dip, but if I'm right and we just hit a mild dip, then I believe that the welfare reform programs that we've put in place will address 90% of the issues that are out there.
We only have about 30 seconds left. Can you give me an example or two of regionalism that is concrete, that what you're going to be doing for regionalism? Everybody talks about it. What are we going to do?
We have scheduled meetings, regular meetings with the Kenton County Commissioners and the Judge Executive. We've started meeting on a regular basis with Cincinnati City Council. I think the county commissioners have really improved over the past year the tone of their leadership. They talk about what's good and what we're going to do as a community rather than what's bad with someone else.
Well, Tom, thank you very much for being with us. I want to do two things before we leave. Okay. We've got a debate coming up between Commissioner Neyer and Marilyn Hyland. This will take place October the 5th at 7:30 at Sycamore High School, 7400 Cornell Road. And tonight, Sunday night, there is another debate between Mayor Qualls and Steve Shabbat. That will take place at the Cheviot Fieldhouse at 3729 Robb Road in Cheviot. A group of people from the press, including me, will be asking questions, so see if you can join us. And thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Be sure to join us again next Sunday for continuing election coverage. Have a good week.